All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Welcome, everyone. We are live with the Doc and the Radical. In our conversation today, that we're going to be talking about Black people in the white man's military. What must we learn? But before I get into that, Doc, you know that South Africa took Israel and charged them in the World Court with genocide. And the judges came back and said a lot of good things, but failed to say that Israel must stop their war effort against the Palestinians. They told them that they must make sure that they don't commit genocide to the Palestinians. And, you know, a lot of people are especially Black people, Black men in particular, I hear say often, you know, we got to charge this at the World Court. We got to do this at the World Court. We got to, and it's like, well, God damn, you know, you haven't learned yet that that's just you taking the cracker to the damn World Court. You just take them to their cousin, and you really expect their cousin to go against them in your favor. It ain't gonna happen. I want to welcome MDP to the program. Peace and blessings, MDP. We're glad that you're here with us. You know, Doc, it's like you're trying to get their family to turn on each other, and it ain't gonna happen. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, you know, the thing is that you're correct. When you're taking, especially the United States, before a world court, how many of those members are dependent upon the U.S. for financial support? How many of them are being paid? You know, now you can have in many ways a castigating view of the U.S. and its policies and still support it in a world court. You know, there's this great story of a African nation that had actually stood up to the United States, and they cast a dissenting vote against the U.S. And one of the delegates of the African nation said that as they were leaving out of the court, that the U.S. representative said, "That's the most expensive vote that you've ever cast." And it's clearly an insinuation of, yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. And the nation claimed that the U.S. had forced them to purchase $200 million of snow blowing equipment as punishment for that. So they basically docked them $200 million for that one vote. So that's, you know, as John Henry Clark said, you know, his infamous quote, out of all the great things that that he said, you have no friends and nobody's coming to save you. And so the onus is placed upon you to go ahead and do something collectively as a people. And unfortunately, if the idea that when you hit rock bottom, you'll do something to save yourself is true, we've apparently not hit rock bottom, not collectively.
And what do you think about the stance that South Africa made by kicking all of the diplomats that were from Israel, kicking them out of the country, and then saying the things that they said on the world stage, and taking up the mantle to have them charged in the court, to take them to court? What does that say about South Africa?
That at least they're trying something, that they're serious enough to take definitive action, and they're not cowardly in regards to throwing rocks and hiding their hands. They're very public, they're very stern, they're very strident and upright. And I applaud any people who have been wronged, any people who feel that they have a significant grievance, and there's something that they could possibly do, even if it doesn't solve the grievance. You compare that to what we just saw with Senator Tim Scott coming out and publicly praising Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and basically telling us that that he's going to he's going to be a part. You're it's something worse than cutting off your nose to spite your face. Have you learned nothing about these people? Has history taught you nothing? And we're not talking about coming out and denouncing white folk for the sake of just denouncing them. We're looking at a historical record that is consistent, is never ending. And there's no way that you can look at this record that we're looking at and come up with any other conclusion other than you're dealing with somebody who has no regard for you at all. And I
All right. Thank you, Doctor, and welcome Deacon of Reality to the program. Peace and blessings, Deacon. We're glad that you're here with us as well. I was definitely, I enjoyed being able to witness Julius Malema and others from South Africa that took a bold stand to denounce Israel and what they're doing, and not really giving a damn about who don't like it whatsoever. And I definitely would like to see more of our people make stands like that. I think once you're able to do that, then the chains are off, and you're really about handling the business that needs to be handled. Well, and in our topic today, Black people in the white man's military, what must we learn? We're going to be looking at Vietnam and dealing with Vietnam, and to watch these interviews from our Black brothers that were there. And you can tell how the unity got them. And, the interviewer was expressly dealing with, how are you as a Black person and knowing what's going on in the United States, but yet you're out here in the war fighting for America? How are you really dealing with that? And, out of the interviews, those are the interviewer's main points that he wanted to make sure that they got in, to see it and figure out exactly how are you processing this information that would allow you to go fight for a country that you don't even have the freedom in. It's a really interesting set of interviews. And I want to welcome Earth Angel Remix, Earth Angel 1105 Remix. Welcome, Earth Angel. We're glad that you're here with us, sis. So, Doc, what do you think about that? You're at a time it wasn't really a war because America never declared war, but you're in a conflict where people are dying. It was over 300,000 Black men in Vietnam, which represented, I believe, like 26% of the fighting force that was on the ground, and we were only 12% of the population. What's your thoughts on that?
The idea of service in the military, I think that we have to look at it through ways that extend further than merely patriotism, nationalism, and what have you. Many people are, and the majority of people that I know who join the military, if they're not, if it's not a family tradition that this is what we do, we join the military. A lot of it is they've been kind of leveraged in serving due to poverty, due to a lack of opportunities, due to a reasonable path to uplift themselves out of where they were raised at. So I'm not surprised. I think that if you really look at it from that standpoint, it's in many ways predictable that your soldier class, your warrior class would hail from a minority position, because they're going to be those who went to the poorest schools, who have had the least opportunities and what have you. And in many ways, such a number, once again, doesn't reflect patriotism or nationalism. It reflects a larger tradition of poverty, of having no way out of a very terse and tense situation.
Mm. And even with what's going on today, with the military being undersized, and they're been talking about a draft to get the numbers back up. You have a situation where Sweden is joining what is that called? NATO. And where Russia says, well, if you join NATO and you're on our border, then that's going to be a problem. So the Switzerland government is telling the Swedes, hey, look, we must prepare for war with Russia. So they know that they're going to go to war. They've been neutral since forever. Now, they've decided we're going to go ahead and join NATO, and Russia is going to attack us as soon as that we join. So war is being pushed up. So when this draft comes, what is because if I understand that if you get a draft and then you tell them no, I ain't going, the possibility that you're going to jail. What's your thoughts on that whenever about black men? How should black men and women answer that draft?
There are principally two ways that you can answer that. You can either go or you're not going. The compulsory draft that people are going to be called up into, resistance of it is going to be futile, because you're either going to honor that call or you're going to deny that call. And if you deny that call, they're going to try to make sure you never work again in this nation. There's going to be such significant punitive economic sanctions placed upon you as an individual. You're probably going to prison. And you have all of these things that are leveraging you into actually having to go along with it. How should black men respond to it? Ugh. That's in this nation, and once again, I trace it back to economics, not to nationalism. In this nation, when you look at the history of black men in America from a elongated macro view, there aren't many professions or many jobs that one can point to that you could go into and make a career out of, regardless of the other ancillary things that may end up leading you into hell. But there aren't many places where you could be a black man. You could join in 25 years. You leave out of there retired with a check, and forget it if you can somehow finagle being 100% totally and permanently disabled. So individually, personally, it could be a very advantageous economic move, but it ain't gonna bring you freedom. It would just situate you a little more comfortable within capitalist America.
Mm. You know, for me, my advice would be, you better tell them, hell no, you ain't going. That's the best thing that you can do. You know, is like what Malcolm X said when he got drafted. He said he went down there to the
He played the nut role to the recruitment office. Yeah,
yeah. He says, "You gonna give me a gun?" And like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna give you a gun with live bullets. You gonna, yeah, we're gonna give you live.
the
And
nut
I can
roll.
shoot. Yeah, you can shoot. He said, as soon as you do it, I'm gonna blow y'all ass away and do something. Get the hell out of the office.
Yeah, but see that's different because that's not denying participation. That's them saying you're unfit.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can get some brothers who can go down there and prove that they're unfit, brothers and sisters. That's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
But to just flat out go down there and say, no, I'm not going to do it because I'm a conscientious objector, it's going to be some significant repercussions for that. You know, and the truth of the matter is that, and I'll talk about this through the lens of white folk. Either you're going to be an American or you're not. And in many ways, if you break that down, that's either you're going to support white supremacy or you're not. Now, if you choose to, we'll reward you financially. If you choose not to, not only will you be on your own, but we're going to be on your ass in issuing some punitive things against you. So it's a tough decision, and especially, and you know this, once one gets a family, some children, some dependents, and what have you, you got to look at things differently. There's so many people who get up and go to a job that they hate because they have responsibilities, they have kids and what have you. It's in many ways coercion. And you have to search your soul as to if you're going to sign up or if you're not. I ain't going. I can't go. And except for a fleeting moment walking out of the movie theater after seeing Top Gun, I knew it wasn't for me.
You know, it's not for a black person because your lifespan on the battlefield is 3 seconds. You know, and 3 seconds come and go really freaking fast. It's definitely not worth it when you stop and reflect that you're fighting for a quote unquote freedom that you don't even have at home. That not only when you get there, not only you're dealing with racism here in America, but whenever that battlefield is, you're going to be dealing with racism right there. You know, amongst the fighting group that's supposed to be, you know, quote unquote, your battle buddies, you know, you're going to be dealing with that. And, you know, for me, you know, when I was in the military and when I went in at 19, I wasn't awoke like I am now. I was still dead. And it's one thing going through there and even being in Somalia, right? When that thing happened over there. And there's a rule on the battlefield. There's a rule on the battlefield, and somebody tell you, you know, war rules are 100% in effect. And what that person just told you is, if you say something else that I don't like, I'm a shoot you. I'm gonna kill you. Because in wartime, if you tell your commander no or your sergeant, I ain't doing this or do it, they have the right to put a bullet in your brain right there on the spot. And that's it. And they're not going to be held accountable because they are judge, jury, and executioner. And when we get into the thing, you'll hear where the black soldiers, they didn't hesitate to shoot these crackers. There were a lot of internal fighting, white versus black, because they didn't like what was being said. These type of black men that were in Vietnam, they didn't go for the, nigga do this, nigga do that, nigga get out of my face. They wasn't that type of men. And so they was like, okay, well, we're going to see what's up. And they go out there on patrol, cracker dead. It's been many firefights, going on between the two. And yet they're supposed to be fighting somebody together. What does that really say about your ability to handle the mission?
I mean, you're not a unified front. As I listened to what you were talking about, there's this great book that we read when I was in grad school. When Jim Crow Met John Bull. And the book was about black and white soldiers in Europe and how the U.S. military had to try and deal with the idea of racism amongst American troops. And what they ultimately decided they would do is there were cities that were to be, as far as when you're talking about just military men, there were cities that would be all black and there's cities that would be all white. And they did their best to keep those soldiers apart from each other because they thought they would kill each other because they had that much racial animosity going on. There's a great saying that says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. One would expect, and I'm not a military, I'm not a service member and what have you, but one would expect that under those conditions of your life being threatened, that it would become a situation of one force working against who's trying to kill both of you. That's apparently not what occurs in the U.S. military. That the U.S. military is full of white supremacists, gang members, the most violent aspects of American society, just kind of thrown together and taught what could arguably be the worst thing that they could be taught, which is military science. Mm-hmm. They become war machines, able to kill. And if you're a war machine, and your utmost priority, the thing that you've been seemingly born with, is a hatred of black folk, you can be a danger around black folk, regardless. And unfortunately, our people have historically never been the ones to strike the first blow. There's always been some offense. Something has occurred, something, so that initial attack is responded to. Mm-hmm. That's amazing when you really think that, and Khalid Muhammad talked about that on his Donahue show appearance, where he talks about the raging racism within the American military, and that if a German officer had been captured, he would have more rights amongst the American military machine than black soldiers who were fighting on their behalf. So, yeah, that's a sobering thought. Mm-hmm. That even in wartime, the old rules of Jim Crow, of white supremacy, of are still in effect. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And to be able to be in that type of environment, because when I got to Fort Campbell, it was after the first Iraq War, and when there was rumors about, all right, we got to go back to Iraq, And the black soldiers that I was hanging around, you know, they were like, let me tell you, y'all put y'all shit in that Humvee. I'm putting my shit in my car. I'm getting the fuck out of here. You know, so they already like, I'm not going the fuck back over there. You can forget that shit. That is just not happening. And you know, I would have a problem if I mistreated a whole people, and then I'm going to have a war with somebody else, and I'm going to take these people that I've mistreated and put their ass on the battlefield supposed to fight for me. I don't see how that makes much sense. But this is what America does and always continue to do. I wonder, is this something that they learned from Rome? Because that Rome had other citizens who that they done conquered and done wrong to in the Roman army fighting for Rome. So is this a repetitive thing that functions in the mind of these whites?
Well, you know, let's extend that a little further. African slavery was often predicated upon that as well, to be honest with you. They would go to war. They would have captives, prisoners of war. And those prisoners of war were the equivalent of, in their society, slaves. But those slaves could marry, they had rights, and they were expected to fight on that side of whatever people that they had been captured by. So it may just be a natural outgrowth of survival, of conquering other people and what have you. The thing that makes the Black experience and tradition so different is quite simply that, like with Nigerians, with Ghanaians and what have you, the reason Idris Elba's people, Idris Elba sounds like a Brit, is because his people were colonized by the English, by the British. You can clearly see that process because they physically leave and they go to Britain, they go to school and they learn and what have you. It's not so obvious for us here because we don't leave the continental US to go to their colleges. We don't leave the continental US to go to their military schools. But it has the exact same, the intentions are the exact same. That they're going to break you down and they're going to build you up into something that is useful and of some utility to their nation state. And with that comes the understanding, well, we will allow you some trinkets of material success, but you have to do our bidding. So it's a tough position for Black folk to be in, especially when you're a poor people. Very tough.
You know, well, I definitely hope that our people make the right decision and tell them, hell no, if I got to fight a war, my war is against you, not against somebody else who hasn't done a damn thing. You know, as Muhammad Ali said, you know, the yellow man never called me nigga.
Yep.
You know, and that's the realities that when you're talking about going into war to fight, that you better be really realizing what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah,
because that's real. And I want to welcome Mayat to the program. Peace and blessings, Mayat. We're glad that you're with us, even though you're a little tipsy.
Ain't feeling no pain tonight, huh? Ain't feeling no pain.
All right. Well, we're going to go. No, before we get into our first video, I want to deal with, and I want to welcome Gregory Calloway to the program as well. Peace and blessings, Brother Calloway. We're glad that you're here. I was ambushed here at Camp Pendleton at 17 years old. Oh, wow. Oh, Brother Calloway, what I would love for you to be able to go into that and let us know exactly, you know, what do you mean? What happened? to you at 17. If you want to come on and tell us, I'll put the link in the chat, and you can hit the link and come on and let us know, what you mean. We'd like to hear about it. Or you was in the Marines out of boot camp. So did white folks jump on you? Peace and blessings, Brother Willie Rivers. Welcome to the program. We're glad that you're here with us, big bro. Well, you don't have to have you don't have to use the camera. You should be able, as long as you can use the mic so that we'll be able to hear you. And your picture will be like what Doc's picture is right now with his camera off. That's what it'll look like. But the important thing is that we're able to hear what you're saying, because it's very important for our people to understand, what it means when you go sign up to fight for this enemy. Wow, so yeah, I was ambushed by 5 big white boys. No doubt, no doubt. And this is what we've been saying the whole time, is that racism thing, you're going to face it. You're going to face it. And as we get in some of the videos, you'll hear from Black servicemen that were in Vietnam, and they're talking about how they had to fight racism while they're on the battlefield, supposed to be fighting the Viet Cong. So, when this draft comes back around, I'm definitely telling our people now, to tell them crackers, hell no, you ain't going. No, they're not paying you enough to go and kill and lose your life, potentially, or get blown the fuck up for America or for some corporate interest that ain't gonna benefit you. Tell them motherfuckers, hell no, I ain't going. And if you put a gun in my hand, I'm gonna blow your ass away. In the 70s, the Marines was the last bunch to let blacks join. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what we want to. We don't want to catch a cold. We better stay out of the draft. That's for sure. Doc, and during the same time, they had how you pronounce it, blaxploitation movies, right?
Blaxploitation movies, yeah.
Right. Now, when I just look at the term, it don't seem like it's a good term. You want to give us the history of why it got this term, but yet it seems the following is black people are, oh yeah, I gotta see it. Well, what's up with that?
The term blaxploitation films flows from the idea that black actors, by and large, had not been put center stage, and many of the cinematic portrayals of black folk during that time were not flattering to us. You got to remember that maybe the first major blaxploitation movie that the nation saw was The Mack, which had Richard Pryor in it. Max Julian, it was filmed in Oakland, and it's basically about a pimp and how he comes up. And then you're going to have films like Three the Hard Way with Fred Williamson. You're going to have, you even had a brother who becomes a karate star, Jim Kelly, who did all of these amazing things. But they were in many ways stereotypical caricatures of black folk who were these badass Jason Bourne kick-ass type people who actually would stand up to white folk, who, you know, were in many ways saying on film and on screen what most Black folk wish that they could say or do. My favorite one of all, if you want to really see a movie, I wish I wish I knew who did the outfits for this movie, but it's called Willie D. Willie Dynamite. Have you ever seen Willie D?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You should see Willie D. Willie D is he's a pimp. Once again, he's a pimp, and white folk are out to get him, but they can never really get Willie D because Willie D is always a little slicker, a little faster than they are. He's in many ways like Brer Rabbit. Do you remember Sesame Street?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you remember Sesame Street, you'll remember the Electric Company. Remember the Electric Company? Willie D, the brother who played Willie D, Willie Dynamite, he thought he was going to have this great career as this blaxploitation star. That was the only film that he got to do because Black folk had turned against the idea of blaxploitation movies. And so he was friends with Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman was on Sesame Street. And he tells him, he said, look, man, you might want to holler at PBS because they got this thing called the Electric Company coming out. The brother that played the pimp in Willie D, who was Willie D, is actually the same brother that was giving out the lessons and teaching kids with the Electric Company.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow.
If you, I'm gonna actually see if I can. I know I can find some from Willie D. But go right ahead while I look for this, bro.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to take a look at a clip as well from a blaxploitation movie from 1968, and the movie is called Uptight. Okay, yeah, we got a call-in number. Let me put that there. So that's the call-in number. And you can call in and we'll be able to hear you. Because Brother Gregory said he was jumped by 5 big white boys. And so to me, it was very interesting, the term blaxploitation movie.
Yeah,
but,
if let me see if this will work. Just to give you an idea of the blaxploitation movie genre. If I can share my screen. Now, are you able to see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's Willie D. This was the trailer for the movie.
Willie D. Willie D.
They call him Willie D. D for dude. He's got to be number one. D for devil. No one crosses Willie D. D for dynamite. Willie Dynamite.
7 women in the palm of his hand. Willie D. Willie D. Got a woman for every man. Willie D. Willie D. It's magic the way he runs his game. Ooh, Willie. Never treating 2 girls the same. Willie. Oh, Willie D.
Willie, please don't make me go anymore.
Willie's got it all right in his hand. Except maybe he ain't. Take a rest, Willie. Sure, Belle.
Up! Get him up. Hey, go easy on Willie. He's tender. You know, he works with women all day. You know how it is?
Why all the concern over a used up junkie? She your sister?
Yeah, Willie. It's your sister, too.
Hello. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's getting late. Oh, okay. Peace and blessing, brother Greg. Good to hear from you. Hold on.
He's tight, together, and mean. He's got to be number one.
Wow. Wow.
That brother had some outfits, didn't
Sure
he? No, I
did.
don't know. But there was raccoon tails or chinchilla that he had on. But he had some stuff on right there. Yeah, Willie D.
I want to welcome Realm in the Bush to the program. Peace and blessings. Sister Cassie, we want to welcome Tranquil to the program. Peace and blessings. We're glad that y'all here. We also have with us on the phone Brother Gregory. Peace and blessings, Brother Gregory. You're on. Go ahead and say what you got to say so we can hear you.
Hey, hello. I just want to say good evening to y'all. And it's a blessing to be able to call in. And my whole thing, man, the biggest word that we can use to define what's going on, you bamboozle either way, and that goes for all the wars that we signed up for, starting with the Revolutionary War. Man, they give you this fake promise, this fake ultimatum. Mm-hmm. Now, I took my training at Parris Island, South Carolina, back in the 70s, you know, and my mother told I had to go and get a high school. I had to go and get my GED to join the military. You couldn't go in as a dropout like that. You had to get your GED. You know, so I had to get my GED. So I went to night school, and I had to get like a few more credits to join. And I took my training at Parris Island, man, and I was just 17 years old. And I came out of boot camp, and I was gonna ship over to Okinawa, Japan, by way of Camp Pendleton. And at that time in the 70s, Camp Pendleton was one of the most racist military bases in America. And there was a lot of talk about all the activities the racist activities that was happening at Camp Pendleton. And I don't know if y'all heard of Camp Pendleton, but it's out there in California. It's the big transition base that you go to before you ship out to go to Japan. And man, I was walking in the barracks one day, and white boys, they despise.
Brother Gregory, you still there?
I think he might have muted himself.
Brother Gregory? Brother Gregory?
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You have went silent for a minute.
Okay, yeah, I took my training at Parris Island, and I was gonna ship off to go to Okinawa, Japan, by way of Camp Pendleton. And Camp Pendleton was one of the racist military bases in America at the time in the 70s, and they was always talking about how they were mistreating black soldiers, you know, at Camp Pendleton. And so I come in the barracks one day, and before I realized what happened, there was 5 of them up on me, and they was calling me all kinds of niggas and everything, and just trying to discourage me from, and I mean, I was just a kid, man.
Right.
I was just a kid. I was green. I was 17, and it all, and to even really understand what ambush ambush means is that something's coming out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Something is coming out of nowhere. And the next thing you know, man, they had jumped on me and began to start to beat on me and stuff. And then one of the officers had came in and then they got up and left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, now if I would have had a gun, if I would have had a gun, I wouldn't be talking to you here today. But this is what I had to go through at the beginning. This was at the beginning of my tour of duty, which I went on to do, which I went on to do 3 years in the Marines, and I shipped out and went on over to Okinawa, Japan, and stuff. But it's a terrible game that they play with us, man. You know, it's just a life full of broken promises, bamboozle. You know the war chief Tecumseh, the war chief Tecumseh coined the phrase. He said, "Pale face speak with forked tongue."
That's right.
And he said that way back in 1866. The war chief Tecumseh, and that stuck. And when he said that stuck to the white man, and that will forever be his legacy. Pale face speak with forked tongue, and that applies to him today more than ever before.
That's right. That's right.
And then we had all these movies called Bamboozle. I looked up the definition. If you look up the definition of bamboozle, you get like 30 different definitions of what hoodwink, and there's so many other words to use this to describe. This is how they do you. This is how you and they put you in a predicament. We're in a predicament, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's right now today. While so many brothers that joined the military back in the 70s and even the 60s when I went in, that were denied home ownership, and the generational wealth starts right there, because if you can't own a home, basically if you can't own a home, you can't be a man.
That's right.
In my understanding, you know what I'm saying, and that's the whole thing, right? And that's when you go from being a man, you're going right back to just being a boy again, because if you don't have a home to start your family with, how you gonna call yourself a man?
That's right.
And then that's what they do. And then that's what they do to all the brothers that was in the military. All these empty and broken promises. I mean, I'm pushing 70 years old right now. I'm living in military housing right now, and I'm thankful for what I got. But man, I could have had home ownership, man.
That's right.
I could be having something to pass on to my nieces and nephews and stuff. I don't have any children, but I'm saying I could have something to pass on. You know, the scripture talks about if you don't have anything to pass on, man, you're worse than an infidel. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
But I'm telling you, man, I love this show. I love your show, man, because you talk about so much important stuff. And the reason why I can tell your show is so important is because the numbers are so low. And see, I don't want to be on a show with a whole bunch of damn people. Give me the 8, 10, or 12 people. See, the scripture says narrow is the way.
That's right.
And few that find it. Yeah, the broad way is wide open, right? It's gonna be thousands and millions of people on the broad way. But give me the straight and narrow way. You know, give me the 8 or 10 people that's trying to go in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But man, your topics are so important and so needed. But I want to tell you about this new movie that came out. It's called the 24th. It's called the 24th, and it's talking about a black regiment. And I haven't even really looked at it myself, but the Marines run in my family. I got cousins that's Marines in the Army, and I got cousins that's police officers and firefighters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm basically I'm a military family.
Right.
We're a military family. We're a military family because, like you said, that was the really only thing that really kind of like gave you a chance to go and make something out of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know they took the trades when they took the trades out of high school. You know they took the trades out of high school where you could go and be anything you wanted to be, a plumber, auto mechanic, whatever. Once they took the trades out and brought in the drugs, man, I mean, we were in a desperate situation. Basically, wasn't nothing you could do but sell drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, wasn't nothing you could do but get out here and just sell drugs and turn into a criminal.
Right.
And turn into a criminal because I mean, once you take trades away from these young kids, what they gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you won't learn how to be a mechanic, or you won't learn how to be, you know, and even that was my decision when my mama said, you gonna get your ass out here, you gonna go in the military, you gonna do something, but you're not gonna hang around here.
Mm.
And around that time, DC was like around the murder capital, around the murder capital of the world, man. I was 10 years old when Dr. King was killed back in '68.
Mm.
And I'm gonna tell you, I could take you for a long, long time. I could take you to places in Washington D.C. where you could smell tear gas. You could still smell the tear gas from the riots 10 years later.
Oh wow!
So you know we took a turn. But I wouldn't trade my tour of duty in the military for nothing. I was able to get on ship.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get on ship, and I was able to travel and go to mainland Japan. I went to Korea. I went to some different places just to see how people live, the different lifestyles and stuff. I wouldn't trade that for nothing. But that doesn't change the fact that we always getting the short end of the damn stick.
That's right.
We always getting the raw end of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just look at our top black general right now, General Austin. I don't really know what's going on with him, but he has got to be one of the biggest puppets. He has got, and I mean, it's just like that Tim Scott. It's the biggest minstrel show.
Right.
If people don't understand what a minstrel show is, go back and look at the history of the minstrel show, because it is something that repeats itself over and over and over. I mean, we're doing everything just short of buck dancing, got our eyes buzzed out. We're doing everything just short of buck dancing and soft shoeing and tap shoeing. And I mean, it's like we're in a no-win situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just like, that's why I always say that capitalism is racism, definitely, because you, as a black man, you can only go so high before you are compromised, before you are doggone compromised, right? And man, I'm telling you, I will always watch your show. I watched you back for when you like you see, when you used to take your trips and talk about buying up a town,
right?
Buying up a town and owning the town and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been following you for a long time, man. You got some great ideas, but we as a people, and even though the Montgomery bus boycott, see, all that stuff was successful. All that stuff was successful because we had the discipline back then. We don't have the discipline today.
No.
We don't have the discipline to pull off a successful boycott. We found that out when the NFL went Kaepernick. I got on my Kaepernick shirt. right now. And don't you know, we was at the part where we was really seriously trying to boycott the NFL, and then Gladys Knight, she turned around and sang at the Super Bowl, and I kind of was mad at her because these celebrities, they will put the celebrities out there, and they will make it so hard for us to take a stand, to take a stand on something. So I mean, I said, the hell with the NFL. I wasn't going with none of that stuff. And then Gladys Knight, she came out and said, well, I'm gonna sing at the Super Bowl. And I said, damn, we're trying to boycott. we're trying to keep the focus and attention on police brutality.
Right.
You know, and listen, last year we had a reparations rally here in D.C. Tariq Nasheed, he did it last year. And I went down there and volunteered, man. I got my T-shirt and stuff. And it was kind of like a nice turnout for something that just only took 2 weeks to organize. And I think we're going to do it again. He's talking about we're going to do it again this year. We're going to have a big reparations rally, and we're going to tie it in to Juneteenth and all that type of stuff. But we just have to, as far as I'm concerned, the two-party system is dead.
That's right.
It's dead, man.
They
have nothing. They have nothing for us. We need to, like you say, keep organizing and build our stuff around reparations. Because I need my money, man. You need your money.
That's right.
You know, and we have to all stay focused on this one thing, And I'm pretty. The big reparations rally, and I'm gonna be out there talking about, we need, give us our money, give us our money, and I'm gonna stay, and at my age, I'm gonna stay focused. My mother didn't live to see a black president, and she never thought we would have a black president. And you got a lot of people out here that don't believe we'll get reparations either. But we have to keep fighting.
That's right.
We have to keep, and we have to find a way to. I want to ask you. We have to find a way to use what they call political leverage. Political leverage, and that means when we get to the point where we are organized enough, and what this whole thing is about, our numbers went up. We had the Black Americans had a 33% increase. I'm finding out now that our numbers have went up, and that's what this whole immigration thing is about. They're trying to offset our numbers, and what we need to do is we need to galvanize. We need to galvanize as much as we can. Just keep on galvanizing and getting together around reparations, and this is what we call political leverage, man. Now we're getting behind this brother Marcel Dixon, brother Marcel Dixon out of where is he from? Louisiana or something? But
he's from South Carolina.
South Carolina. He is one of the sharpest knife in the drawer right now, and he's fearless. He's fearless, if you ask me. And we need to galvanize around somebody like him and somebody like yourself, man. And like you said, you need to, and we need the kind of voices. We don't need hundreds of thousands of people, man. We don't need hundreds of thousands of. Give us our little small group. That's just like the whole movie, the movie 300. Right. When Gideon, God told Gideon, he said, Gideon, you got too many men. You're gonna have to get rid of. You have to get rid of a lot of them and get it down to 300. And those 300, the lion-hearted. Right. You know what I'm saying? The ones that really gonna fight. We don't care. We ain't gotta have the big numbers. We ain't gotta have the big numbers, but just have that handful. Right. And that's what I tell myself today, man. I want to be around that handful. That handful of people that's gonna go down swinging. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because I love the show. I love the doctor. I love what y'all talking about. And we can't worry about small numbers. We just have to keep talking and speaking truth to power, speaking fearlessly. That's right. And we'll get those. and we'll get those little 2 or 3 people that we need. We don't need a bunch of bootlicking ass niggas, you know. We don't need them.
Exactly. That's right. That's right,
But
brother.
I'm telling you, and God told, and that's the greatest lesson in the world. God told Gideon, don't you worry about the numbers because I'm with you.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
God told Gideon, he said, don't you worry about having all these thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
The hell with them.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we got our 300. We get our 300 together.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Brother, I love the show. I love the doctor. I love the call in. And we need to go back. You need to have a show talk about the minstrel show and go back and look at it and see how it just repeats itself over and over again.
Most definitely.
You know? And we got to make sure that we don't fall into, you know, about what this minstrel show, because the minstrel show has creeped back into every activity of our lives now. And it's definitely in the rap game now. The minstrel show has creeped back in and it's taken back over. You know, because they got a soft shoeing and tap dancing like never before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way we can fight and defend against that is that we have to keep talking fearlessly and making these fearless moves. Now I'm looking forward to seeing. I hope you come in for the reparations rally in June whenever we have it here in DC.
Well, most definitely. Most definitely. I'll be there.
Yeah, because we have to galvanize around our 300. Because that movie 300 was talking about us. Talking about us black people, the underdog.
Right.
You know, we don't give a damn about the thousands. We don't give a damn about the thousands of bootlicking ass niggas that's out there that's just, they're all about themselves. They ain't trying to have nothing to pass on. They don't have no vision. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You gotta have heart and faith. You gotta know what's gonna happen.
That's right.
You know what's going. Listen. Thomas Jefferson, that old cracker said. He said he cringed for the day. He said the God of justice can't sleep forever.
That's what he said. That's right.
He said. So he knew. He said I cringe for the day when the God will come and exact his justice on this country for what they have done. And I'm telling you, man, I'm hanging on that justice.
That's right.
I'm hanging, and the scripture says that I will live to see it.
That's what it says.
Listen, right. I'm gonna live to see the fall of my enemy. I'm gonna live to see it.
That's right.
I'm gonna live to see it, brother. We gonna live to see it.
Yes. Yes.
Hey man, look, I love your show, man.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Hey, look, keep your call in open, so the people can call in and we can galvanize and encourage one another.
That's right. That's right.
Keep on speaking. To keep on speaking truth to power, man. Keep on speaking it because we can do it. We can do it. I love the show.
Yes, sir. We love you too, big brother. We are definitely glad that you decided to call in and share your story with us today. Most definitely. Yeah.
Because this is how we build each other's faith, man.
Right.
You know, it's how we, because I got to give my testimony. You know, this is how we overcome, man. Because I was out there, brother. I was out there dealing with drugs. I overcome drugs. I overcome homelessness. I overcome all that stuff. And we have, and look, the illegals are coming in. They're coming in so big now. You know what they're doing? They're going in and they're taking over these abandoned buildings. You know, a lot of these big cities are full of abandoned buildings and stuff. They're just kicking down doors and going in and setting up camp in these buildings. They're doing it here in DC.
Oh, really?
And I'm telling you, it's all a plan. It's a plan. The Democrats and the Republicans, they done both got together, and this is their plan to push us out. This is their plan. And listen, everybody's coming over here, brother. I believe because this is the promised land.
Most definitely.
This is the true promised land. And all these and for all y'all that think you looking over there, ain't no promised land over here. Why? The reason why all of the people are coming over here, to the fourth part of the world. Some of the biggest pyramids in the world are over here in South America.
Right.
The South, the Americas, these Americas. This place is the land, the lush land, the promised land, man. Don't you know down in Brazil, they got 100-foot waterfalls down there. It is so plush. And so, I mean, you're talking about the Garden of Eden. When you go down into some of the most beautiful parts of South America down in there, man, this is true. I believe that our promised land is over here, and that's why they're trying to push us out and got everybody looking over there to fake Middle East. Because all that stuff over there is just fake. It's the reason why people are coming here by the thousand. Right. It's the reason why they're coming here. And it goes back. To in the scripture, because the Lord said, He said the land was so rich and so fruitful. He said it took 2 men to carry 1 cluster of grapes. It took men. That's how the promised land was, man. That's how it was.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And man, let's keep in touch, bro.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
And you galvanize, and like you said, you have a call-in show, and like you said, ask for people to call in, that have vision. We want people that can see it. You see it in your dreams.
Exactly.
The Lord is showing you in your dreams.
That's right.
That what you got to fight for, what we got to galvanize for.
Yes.
Because I ain't got time for people that don't have no vision.
That's right.
That don't have no faith. You don't have no faith, man. Gideon's army. Yeah, Gideon's army. We ain't gonna be with 300, boy, but we're gonna be 300 fearless.
That's right. Fearless.
We're gonna be. Okay, I gotta go, man. I love y'all, man.
All right. Love you too, brother. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Peace
bye.
and blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Brother Gregory. Brother Gregory Calloway, strong sounding brother. Fearless brother. That's what I'm talking about. I like that. Doc, what you think about what Brother Gregory was saying?
I'll hone in on his idea of not being able to own a home. One of the things that we really have to deal with, especially when we're talking about reparations, is quite simply that these are state-sanctioned, almost government-mandated punitive measures that were placed against Black folk, especially servicemen. There really can be an argument made that justice has never been blind when it came to us. You can go all the way back to when John Punch escaped with 2 European indentured servants. All 3 were captured. John Punch was given servitude for the rest of his life. The other 2 were given just a slight extension of the time that they would serve as indentured servants. So the system's never been fair. And I'm at the point now where I realize there's nothing we can do to make it fair, that we have to have, in many ways, our own system. And taking it back to full circle, when we started talking about the MAC, Roger Mosley of Magnum PI fame was Max Julian's Goldie, that was his character's name, his brother, and he was this Black nationalist. And he gives this speech where he says quite simply, what we need to be about doing is creating a nation within a nation, but without a nation. And I think that's some of the best advice that Black folk can do, that you need to have your own. Regardless of how you get it, you better have your own, because they ain't sharing theirs with you. And they're showing that historically.
Exactly. And I want to welcome Old Reliable to the program. Peace and blessings, Old Reliable. Glad to see you, big brother. That's a military brother as well. And he make metal doors, steel doors. Oh yeah, Old Reliable. That's definitely a good brother to have, and I'm glad that he's with us. And so I want to go to our first video, and it's going to be the black exploitation clip of the movie Uptight. And one of the service members that we're going to watch his interview talks about it. And so when I heard him mention it, I said, well, let me go see what this is about. And I wound up watching the whole movie. It was a good movie. But it definitely has a good message in there. And it fits right in the time that we're in right now, trying to deal with, the things that we're dealing with. But let me just go and share screen so we can get into this. All right, let's see.
Isn't this a waste of time? Well, listen to what he has to say. We know what he's got to say.
Oh, yes, you know. It's going to start with in the name of unity. You know what? Stay here with me.
Well, how are you, Nene? Hi, BG. Hello, Alma. Hi, Corbin. Sit down. What is this, a barrier between us? Looks like it, doesn't it? Well, I hope we can bridge this barrier. I know we haven't always seen eye to eye on everything.
There's one thing we don't see eye to eye on right now.
Oh? I asked Ted to come.
You got the ball? You want to talk? We'll listen.
But you won't have anything to say.
We might have. When he leaves.
Is that the way it is, Corbin?
That's the way it is.
You remember me, Corbin? We were together in Selma. They threw us in the same jail. I remember you when we cried together in Mississippi. That's when we heard they killed those 3 kids. 2 white, 1 black. I remember you when you read a pamphlet I wrote in Birmingham. You said, that's good, Ted.
Other times, man. Other times. Things have changed.
I haven't changed. I have every right to be here.
Man, oh man, when Whitey talks about his right.
You get off that whitey crap!
Stop.
I'm no conscience-stricken liberal.
We're wasting time. Selma, lunch counters, Birmingham. Yesterday. Days we went through together. Now we don't walk together anymore. It's policy now. No whites.
That's great. Stomped on. Spilled blood. But you can't work here anymore. Disqualified. Wrong complexion.
Don't shout, friend. We got to do it alone.
Can't do it alone. Without me, you can't win. Without me, you're gonna get killed.
You'll excuse us now, Teddy. Kyle wants to talk to us.
There's the money. Everything's accounted for. There's something I wrote. If you don't want to read it, you can use it for toilet paper. It's been charming.
Teddy, we got to do it alone. We don't want your know-how. We got to develop our own or die. Think about it. Go help the white brother. He's in deep trouble. Change him. That's your job.
Teddy. If you want to help us, send us some guns. You folks can buy them easier than we can.
That's the way to win a war. Alienate your friends.
Get to the main drift, Kyle.
Who's the brain here? Do I talk to you, Corbin, or BG?
No stars in the movement. They kill them too quick. You talk to all of us.
Meeting Saturday. There's money there. There's help. White help, too. Ted was scheduled to speak. Before I walk out of here, I want to be sure that you cats are not going to mess things up. We're going to have that meeting in peace, not even a firecracker. I'm asking you to come in with us on some constructive action.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go crawling to Washington.
Walking straight, my brother. Marching.
Again?
Thousands and thousands again. The poor people in this country are going to be organized. There's your power. And not just a black caucus, everybody.
I hate niggers like you. Making your pile in the opportunity programs. Laughing at a big at the white man cocktail parties.
Maybe he's bucking for the Senate.
And if I were, would you be against that? Before you yell black power, learn what it means.
Well, I'm not yelling for you, Reverend.
Don't come at me with none of that reverend crap, big as you are.
He's only non-violent when it comes to Whitey.
Don't you accuse me of selling out to anybody, ever, or as God is my judge.
I am accusing you.
Cut it!
Cut it. After the revolution, you dudes can kill each other all you want.
You've got no revolution. A revolution is a plan, not a gun. I'm begging you to think straight. Violence is a self-defeating mother. Work with us.
And peace, brother, peace.
Damn. I've known you since you were a baby. I don't recognize you anymore.
You can't. I'm off my knees now. I like my man with a gun.
Janie, the nonviolent program
Is dead. Killed by white violence, April 4th, 1968 in Memphis.
The man who died
Was murdered. As were 4 little girls in the Sunday schoolhouse. As was Medgar Evers. And after him, 47 others. How many of their killers went to jail? Nobody. That's over. We gotta make them know that every time they even think of picking up a gun against a black man, there's a black gun waiting for them.
That's not the way, BG. You'll bring a whole military machine down on our heads. You will be the excuse for fascism in this country. You'll bring on the camps.
What the hell do you think we got now?
Then you have no idea what it could be. I don't hate you, BG. I don't want to see you in a camp. I don't want to see you killed. And I don't want to see you responsible for other people being killed.
Now you listen. When you're born black in this country, you're born dead.
Mhm.
Don't talk to us about being killed. We know about that. You're an honest man, Kyle. Go ahead, have your meeting. Nobody's gonna bother you. You go get those bills passed. Bills the whites won't obey anyway. You do your thing, and we'll do ours. But get this straight. I don't know about a revolution without arms. And I don't know about a revolution that doesn't punish its enemies.
Get out of my way, Hank! Stay out of here, CBT!
What are you doing here?
Jenny, your brother's back.
Where is he?
He came to see me. He asked me to bring you the message.
Where is he?
He's going to the house to see your mother. BG, Johnny wants a couple of cats around the house in case of the cops.
Idiot. Rick? Larry? Where are you going?
BG. BG, please. Johnny came to me. Johnny trusted me!
You keep away from that house. And keep away from us. You're no goddamn good.
BG. Johnny, he knows where I'm at. He's gonna talk to you.
Johnny's already talked to us. I'll tell you his exact words. Don't trust Tank. Cut him loose.
Johnny? Johnny said that?
Yeah, nigga. Johnny said that.
All right. So that again was from the movie Uptight, 1968. What's your thoughts, Doc, of that short clip?
You know, the first thing that popped in my head was I was kind of shocked to see Pretty Tony sitting there, seeing all of these blaxploitation actors on the screen. Pretty Tony's great line was, "Nigga, you ain't a pimp. You a rest haven for hoes." That has lasted across black cinema for the longest time. I could definitely see the themes that they were utilizing with this. I'm actually going to go back and watch it because it seems as if it's worth watching.
It is.
A movie that is in many ways laced with political themes and tenor and what have you. And just from the little part that I saw, very impressed that it had so many correct historical references. The three boys, Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman. Four little girls, April 4th, 1968. So yeah, definitely want to go back and watch it, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, sir. It's a good one. I watched the whole thing. It was very interesting how it broke it down where you had all of the blacks there. Not everybody was in the same group. There was different groups, but they came together as one. And, there was not one person that you can point out who's the leader because they said the leader can get killed. And you had the sisters there, and they were talking, being there and being present. And then you had the want to go along to get along black man with his white boy there who, quote unquote, I was down, I've been there, we was in the
poverty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that those stereotypes, didn't change. We still see it right here in present day.
Yeah, one of the things that really struck out to me, and it's something that you said, the articulation, the presence, the voices of the black women who were there. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense when people remember the Panthers, they solely remember guns, but they fail to recognize that Huey P. Newton was number one, a genius. But the Panthers were, in many ways, a very gender egalitarian organization. There's no way of getting around that. That the sisters had a voice. Sisters were in leadership positions, and it wasn't just leadership positions over other women. So that's something that's reflected there, but it's something that is largely omitted, ignored when we talk about contemporary gender dynamics between Black men and Black women. The color purpleization of the Black historical memory that gives you the idea that brothers was just out here knocking sisters out. Hitting Miss Sophia in the jaw, raping Miss Seeley. That has never been our way. Not to denigrate or deny those types of actions, but that has not been our way. And when I look back at a movie like that, I recognize my mother. I recognize my aunts. They were not women who sat on the sidelines and didn't have anything to say. Yet they were still associated with strong Black men. And a major part of that strength of the Black men was the strength of that Black woman. So I definitely appreciated that part of it.
Definitely. And understanding or just knowing the fact that we have something to fight for that is greater than ourselves, and they were able to put their own personal thing down and unite as a group to do whatever action, the group said that they needed to have done for their freedom. That was very impressive, very impressive.
Well, certainly.
Yeah. And so now we're going to go into the first interview of a Black soldier in Vietnam. And hear what he got to say and talk about it. Let's see.
We can't hear him.
Oh, y'all can't hear?
And the place I was at before Vietnam was a place in Illinois, and you just weren't considered a man unless you had been to Vietnam, and everybody came back with war stories and everything. So when I was assigned to Vietnam, I was sort of glad in a way that I could at least go through it and come back and say that I had been through it. It really never occurred to me about the fact that it was the danger and everything involved. In fact, I put had my baseball glove and my spikes and everything in my duffel bag, and I was really expecting just to go through it and say that I was there. So when I landed, actually I just wanted to walk off the plane and then get back on and say I was there. But I arrived there and I just looked. I was just a kid with big eyes, just trying to look at everything I saw. And the first realization was that a war was going on. Is that when we got there, they told me to immediately get out of my suit. I was in a dress suit, and most people were, of course, in their fatigues, but I wanted to look my best. And they told me to get out of my suit and get into fatigues because the place I was going had just been hit, and that I might have to jump out. We might have to bail out on the way, and that I should be suited. And that was my first realization that there was something serious going on. And that night when I stayed in Cam Ranh Bay, we were hit. We were hit that night.
How did it look to you as a place? How How did the people? Was it a surprise? Were you prepared for it mentally?
I don't think I was prepared. It was like I was expecting one thing, and there was another thing going on. To get into the first thing that hit me, since I arrived in Cam Ranh Bay, the town was not on limits, so I really didn't have a close view of the Vietnamese people at that time. It was just the servicemen, and then the thing that hit me first of all was the racial polarization, and I got a real sign of that at that night. As I said, I went to the club, the NCO club, and I saw blacks, giving the fist sign and as a welcome sign, hello, and shaking hands in a way that I had never seen before. And everyone I was seen by, every black I was seen by, gave me a smile and a clenched fist. And I mean, it was slightly threatening at first because I had seen it in the States a little bit, but it was always seen as the extremists. These were people who weren't, who were out to make trouble, and you better watch out. But when I got there, I felt a certain camaraderie about it. I mean, for the first time, I was just accepted. They just took me in and just accepted me as one of their own, as one. We were all one, and I kind of liked it.
I wonder if that seems a good story. And I wonder if you just do it in the UK. And I wonder if you could maybe just go through the story again about the real surprise was that you were welcome and you felt part of something, and why. I wonder if you just do that story for me again, because I think we got into it rather than convoluted.
Oh, okay. Well, as I said, I was the first black I saw there. Smiled at me and gave a clenched fist, and it looked pretty good. I mean, it looked like I said before I saw it as threatening, but now it seemed to be all okay. And I gave sort of like a weak fist back, saying hello. And he came over and started talking. Hello, brother. It was the first time. And we had called each other brother in the States occasionally, but it really meant something at that time. And then I saw but everywhere I looked, blacks giving either a clenched fist hello or starting giving handshakes. I later learned it was called giving the dap, but it was something I had never seen before. And I was really taken aback. But what touched me most is that although before I viewed this kind of togetherness as sort of threatening, because all in the States we saw it in isolated incidents. It's usually on television, or every now and then you saw someone doing that. But in this instance, it wasn't threatening at all. I was really accepted by the group. No questions asked, just a brother from the States, and I was just accepted immediately. When I went to Nha Trang the next morning, I was told to take the day off and get used to the base. I went to the club, and as soon as I walked in, I mean, these blacks sitting at a table saying, "Hey, brother, a new one," and everyone came and they gave me, and I was really embarrassed because I didn't know how to do the handshake at the time. So I had to really, they said, "Oh, they're doing it different now in the world." They used to call the States the world. They say, oh, they're doing it different now. I said, well, yeah, sort of lying, but I eventually got into it. And as a part of the other side of the warm camaraderie among blacks is that many whites there took it as threatening. And if you were seen doing this, giving the clenched fist, that drew the line right there. You were evidently the other kind of people. You weren't somebody that you weren't a reasonable person, or you were one of those.
How did racism show itself in the form in which it was there? You're fighting a war against a common enemy. I mean, how did it come up? What were the classic illustrations to you that caused you problems or pain or?
Okay, the racial polarization was.
Wait a minute till that phone stops. Fine.
The racial polarization was deeper there than I've ever seen. As some clear observations, the town was on limits in Nha Trang, and during the day I walked through the town and really trying to find my way around, seeing one thing or another. So that night I was supposed to go out with the brothers, and they took me, and going through it with them was a totally different experience. And going through it myself, they had black sides of town, white sides of town. and even the Vietnamese accepted it. And woe to the white who walked in a black area unaccompanied, and vice versa. Woe to the black who walked into a white area of town unaccompanied. And it was so clearly seen. I think on the second day, I still wasn't aware of it to that extent. But on the second day, I went to this place where I was the only black, and the reception there, I mean, was so negative. I mean, I could just feel it in the atmosphere. And no one came over to talk. No one spoke. None of the women came over to talk. And it was like, it was just something that said, leave right away while you can. And so that's what I did. There were several racial flare-ups in the city of Nha Trang. Usually when whites came to the black side of town, either unaccompanied or who just did not fit in right, who did not go along with just sitting there and just being seen and not heard. And there were fights. The person who was beaten up would go get other people, of course, and the whole thing would start all over again. But getting back off the town and back to the base, the clenched fist and giving the dap, the hairstyles were changing. This was in the heat of the Black awareness movement. By the way, the late.
Start again on that. Just tell me about being in the heat of that.
Okay.
Conscious movement and what this meant in terms of hairstyles. I mean, you've got some lovely things about it.
Okay.
Okay, I want to stop it right there, pause it right there to talk. And this is one of the key things that I want everybody to pick up on. This cracker who's doing the interview to this guy, and you'll see in the other guy we go, when it comes on race, he wants to know more about it. Go back and tell me more. Go back and give me more detail because of something coming up. Now, Doc, we had a discussion on a different program where we were talking, and I said that what they're going to do to those blacks in the military, blacks on the police force, when those agencies are 100% turned against us, they're going to take the black officers' guns. They're going to take the black soldiers' weapons. They're not going to leave them with the weapons. And you were in disagreement with me over that. But when you listen to the unifying reality of what it was in Vietnam, like the brother said, when he got off the plane, you know, black men were black fisting him, you know, hey, what's up, brother? Welcoming him in, you know, where back in the States, you know, he may not have been amongst that crew, amongst that element. But here in Vietnam, as he said, he was welcomed in, he was felt like he belonged. It wasn't, you know, as he said, the first thing, it was kind of threatening, but then, you know, that dissipated. It wasn't threatening anymore. And that the racism was deeper in Vietnam than it was there in the States.
I mean, it's listening to it, it reminds me of going to prison, like being in a penitentiary where there are no lone wolves, there are no mavericks. You're going to have to click up with your racial group. The Aryans will be together, the blacks will be together. It sounds like a prison gang type of thing going on. And there's certain places that you're going to be socialized and you'll learn that you can't go to, that you shouldn't go to. This is like it's wow.
And to be able to automatically just be accepted and know that this is your group, you fit in, we're in unity together. You know, this kind of unity that they had in Vietnam, I wish we could be able to galvanize that and have that same unity right here in the States. It's that kind of rallying point that we definitely need to have. And it's real interesting just listening to him who obviously, you know, prior to now, he wouldn't have been one wearing the black fist and, you know, in the Black Power movement. He would not have been one of those. But over there, you know, they accepted him, welcomed him, and he became part of the family very, very quickly. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, my thing is, and to hone in on what you're saying, as far as stateside, are you talking about civilians or are you talking about military people coming in?
On stateside, I'm talking about civilians being able to rally together, and
You know,
everybody,
I think that flows from the idea of the other. That, and I was just lecturing about this week in one of my classes, that you can't look at the African and say, well, the African sold his own people, because the African is not conceptualizing things that way, because they have nothing but Africans there. They don't have any Europeans there during that time. So they don't have that rallying point. They don't have that other that is there. Stateside, we have the other. And keep in mind, there is no white land. Okay? Not at all. So this whiteness that we talk about is a social construct. They rally together as a reaction to our presence. Unfortunately, many of us are not rallying for survival's sake because of their presence. You know, they have poured into our minds, and as a man thinketh, so is he. We're not looking. The majority of us, I would argue, are not looking at race through the correct lens of collectivism and need to survive. And right now, there's little room to debate against the idea that every other group, Mexicans, the Russians, the Germans, all of these other groups, white folk, they're looking at it through a correct lens, where they understand that collectivism is powerful economically and politically, socially and educationally. It's only Black folk who are allowing foreign groups to come in and to pour into their children. And you wonder why your child comes out here ziggity boo crazy and don't understand left from right, up from down.
Mm-hmm.
It directly flows from the fact that you can't identify your enemy. You don't understand. You think that your parents and your grandparents and your great grandparents were just some hard luck case. No, this is a system that has been executed against Black folk since we arrived here, and continues to do so. If you can't see that, if you can't understand that, there's no hope for you, none whatsoever. And I'm not asking for everyone to go out and get a dashiki. I'm not a cultural nationalist. I'm a revolutionary nationalist out of the tradition of Huey P. Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, Geronimo Jajaga, the Panthers. But I do agree with my cultural nationalist brothers that the ultimate goal is liberation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no debate about that. Now, how are we going to get there? We can have a debate about that. But the ultimate goal, no. We can't start arguing about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I yield, brother.
Yes, sir, definitely, Doc. And there's one more thing I wanted to add on to that, and I'm glad you brought it up, because we talked about it. You talked about it a little bit last time. But when we're saying Black first, and like you said, where is Black land? Black is not national. Black is universal, and therefore, because what the enemy does, he breaks you down and have you separated. Okay, well, you're in this part of the country, so you're from this way, and you're nowhere connected to this over here. When Black, we're the first people that were on this planet. So this whole planet belongs to us, not just one little square piece of plot of land here. I identify with it all. And so therefore, when we say Black, we're saying universal, not just Black for this part of the land and this part of the land or this part, and you have no connection to the people on that part. We have connection all over. So when we want our land. We want all of it. All of it belongs to us. And
You know,
just off of it.
for us, blackness is not a descriptor. You know, I speak about this sister every once in a while. Sister Miriam Ross. She was one of only 2 African Americans living in Kumasi, Ghana. There was only 2 of them, and she happened to be one of them. She was a local professor, and she shows me this thing with her students. She goes in front of her students and she says, "I am black," and they start laughing. And they said, "No, Dr. Ross, you are not black. You're like beige or tan." For them, blackness is a descriptor of your skin color. For us, because we've been dealing with white folk in hand-to-hand combat for centuries now, blackness is a political declaration, a stance of a public declaration of solidarity with other black people who understand that we have a populace on this earth who've been trying to exterminate us. It's one of the reasons why, if I get invited to go into a white arena and to lecture or debate somebody they trying to put up against me, when I walk out on this stage and I look out into the audience, I'm looking for black folk. And usually it's very few. But when I do see one, I'll make eye contact with them. And the universal goes up for them. If they return it, I feel so comfortable. If they don't, I'm like, oh, okay, we behind enemy lines now, and we gonna have to really show out now. So blackness is a political declaration that any person of African descent around the globe should and is capable of embracing.
Definitely. All right, and we'll go ahead and take some more of his interview.
Right. Okay. One thing that came with the Black consciousness movement, the Black awareness movement, and Black pride was that blacks started wearing their hair longer, showing the natural texture of their hair. Prior to that, it was either very low cut and or slicked down, I guess, in some way that was never found offensive. Haircut regulations was never a problem to blacks in the past, just because of the texture of their hair. They either had it very low or they had straight hair and then they cut it as whites did. With the new Black Pride movement, blacks began wearing their hair longer, and the military rules on hair suddenly became irrelevant to black. It became inapplicable to blacks. I think there was one rule that said your hair couldn't be more than 2 inches long. Now to a white man, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, 2 inches, but to black hair, 2 inches is out like that. So we saw blacks with hair growing out like that underneath their cap, but they were within regulations. And this just burned people up. I mean, the whites were yelling special treatment. The officers were, every time they saw anything that resembled an Afro haircut, they would try to make the soldier cut it down to a level acceptable to him. Blacks, although most blacks would get it cut, they certainly were not going back to the old style. And this was a cause of the only people who wore their hair in the old way were the older black soldiers who more or less had a stake in the military.
Older black soldiers will get that after all. Right. Okay.
So.
Okay. To Ralph, from the way you're talking, it almost sounds as though there's a separate war going on, that you're there to fight a war, but the things that are preoccupying your actual sort of life within the service that you're in. Would that be a true thing to say? I mean, how?
Yes, it would be a true, because one incident comes to mind in that regard. During that time, all black movies were just starting to creep out. I think later they called them blaxploitation films. But anyway, one came out, one of the first ones called Uptight, with an all-black cast, and pretty much an all-black cast, in which exemplified the black militancy. And they were supposed to show it at Nha Trang. And it was being shown in the big open-air theater. And people came from everywhere. Blacks came from down out in the hills, the army grunts down from the hills, everywhere, other nearby bases. Everyone was coming to see Uptight. This was the only thing, although we heard about the black experience or what was going on in the States, this was something this was a direct closeness to it. And we were supposed to have it in the open air theater that night. And it was packed. Even whites came. I mean, everybody wanted to see why this was so hot. The military police were driving around the side. I mean, it was just this thing that something was going to happen. Although I just wanted to see the movie. And as far as I'm concerned, most blacks just wanted to see the movie too. So it started off with the funeral of Martin Luther King, right? And then it was just about in the first part to get good. And the base commander, or one of his agents, I'm pretty sure it was the base commander, comes driving his Jeep onto the open air theater, right on the end. Kirk gets out of it and says, "This space is now on yellow alert. No movie." Yellow alert meant danger of attack. And so, I mean, he said, "Clear, everyone disperse." And so, I mean, everyone was really angry, the blacks especially. I mean, instead of dispersing, everybody was just gathering around in huddles, very angry, deciding what to do. Everybody was certain that this was a put on. Everybody was certain that this was just concocted so that we could not see the film. And everyone was wondering what to do. Several blacks wanted to just go rioting through the base, just set things aflame and do other people just wanted to beat up white people. And a group of other people, of which I was in that group, we decided to sit down and write a letter to our congressman describing the whole episode. And one of the first lines in the letter was, "We're fighting two wars over here," and that's why when someone says, "Were you fighting?" sounds like two wars were going on. That's the first thing that enters my mind. I only had heard rumors of anything happening that night, but at any rate, all that it would have taken was a little push to really start something.
You have very interesting position in here in which you talk about the sort of political arguments that went on. It seems to almost have been like a baptism of fire for you, the sort of political arguments and principles and validity of the war. I wonder if you can tell me how these arguments came about, how they would develop, and what would happen, and how heated were they? Could you set the scene for me?
Yes. One part of coming to Vietnam, not only for blacks, but many young whites, was getting more politicized about the war. We weren't fighting every day. So we had time to reflect about, we were working hard. We were working about 6 12-hour days a week, and then next Sunday, maybe a half a day. And so we had time to sit around and reflect about just what was happening. For blacks, such as myself, it was reading, after reading Malcolm X and Black History, Martin Luther King and other more black militant, Elridge Cleaver, etc. It naturally led into political reading. And I read Dr. Spock on Vietnam. There was anti-war literature in Vietnam readily available to everyone. So it made us more politicized, and we talked about it among ourselves. And so when something was said by our superiors or upper echelon, or even people of our own age, we answered it. We'd say, look, it's America's fault that we're here in the first place. And we would cite certain examples, certain figures, etc., that we're doing these people wrong. We're ruining these people. We shouldn't be over here, etc., etc. When a patriot, or not that I'm not a patriot, but when a down home patriot heard this, my country, right or wrong, heard this, it led to very furious arguments. And we were not afraid to argue with anybody. I took on anybody, captains, my superiors. We felt that we had the facts and that we were right and that we were correct, and that as long as we were correct, nothing could happen to us. I guess it was certain naivete of the early movement. I remember a General Walt of the Marines wrote an article for Life magazine, and it was entitled "When War Comes." No, it was entitled "When Discipline Erodes, Men Die Needlessly." And I wrote an answer to it: "When war comes, men die needlessly." Naturally, life I guess took mercy on me, thank heaven, and did not print the article. But it was kind of an answer to him, a reply. It wasn't the discipline in the military that were making men die. It was the Vietnam War that was making men die.
How did this affect, I mean, you are there to fight the war.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to fight a war? And from what you said, there was really a considerable groundswell and argument that things are wrong. I mean, this seems seems an immense contradiction in the way in which one thinks armies fight and morale and everything else. Can you talk to me about that? What did that do to your fighting spirit, for want of a better word?
Well, men, people who felt that way, or like I, they
people who felt against the war.
Right. People who were anti-war and indoctrinated, I guess. They compromised with themselves in various ways. They came to grips with it in various ways. Some people would say, well, by being here, I'm doing more than being in jail. At least I can be here and see it, and I can go back and tell it. You know, other people would say, well, I'm just following orders, and no one can call me an Uncle Tom, or no one can call me a sellout, because I'm a soldier and I was ordered to come here and do a job, and I'm doing a job, and I'm not doing this job forever. I'm in a contract. Other people would say, yes, other people would say, well, what am I doing here? It would be a contradiction. I'm not going to do anything else, or I'm going to do everything I can to subvert it. You know, I'll work slow, or I won't do things that I think are wrong. It was those people, of course, that got in the most trouble. But it varied. People's reactions varied. Everybody came to grips with it somehow, much like Vietnam veterans even today are trying to come to grips with being there.
How did you come to grips with it yourself? How did you personally feel? And how did you end?
You know, that's the first time I've been asked that question. And I really don't know if I haven't. The way I came to grips with it is that Vietnam was exploratory for me. It was a learning period. Things that I had read when I was becoming politicized, things I read, I would check out with the Vietnam. I was very close to a lot of Vietnamese there. And I would check things out that I read with them. And it was just coming more and more true. I found an ingrown respect for Ho Chi Minh, a deep respect, even within the South Vietnamese, for Ho Chi Minh. Even the day I was there when he died. And it wasn't good. There was no rejoice among the South Vietnamese people. It was a very solemn quietness. So I used the time in Vietnam as I guess exploratory. Why was I there? I guess even before I left, I think I was anti-war. But as I said, I wanted to see it. I wanted to say that I had been there. And boy, was I sorry sometimes after I was there. But I just wanted to say that I was there. I think the way today, the coalition between Vietnam veterans and anti-war groups is that we are the surface of their well. We are the verifiers of their allegations. What they can only speculate, we can verify. And so,
all right, we want to stop it right there. Our time is getting there. But it was very interesting to me, Doc, when they asked him that last question. You notice the camera zoom in closer to his face. You know, they're taking body language, facial adjustments, and everything, you know, about that question. And to see because in the other interview, they asked another black guy the same thing. Did you at some point identify with the Viet Cong? You know, because they were mistreated or whatever. And as this brother said, you know, he grew to have much respect for Ho Chi Minh. That changes your focus on the battlefield. When you begin to sympathize with the person that you're supposed to be killing, your view starts to change. That trigger finger gets a little slower. And what can happen, you'll take that, instead of shooting that enemy that you're supposed to be mad at, this one over here that did you wrong yesterday, I'll shoot that one before I shoot that one. And that's a real thing that's really real. What's your thought on that?
You know, I've never been to a foreign war zone, but that makes perfect sense to me. You know, it's the daily grind. You know, these guys are there dealing with this bullshit 24/7, and how someone is going to process that is going to be predicated on so many different factors, including a person's individual uniqueness. So I'm in many ways, you know, and I pride myself on this. I'm a lifelong learner. And so to sit here and hear about a war zone, to hear about the black men who were serving there, and, you know, as a historian, I constantly hear, well, you know, they never taught us that. They never talked about that. So to hear that is in many ways humbling, because it is in many ways an aspect of society and people's reality, in this nation's reality, that I have not been privy to being able to really hear, and to really, you know, once again, it's illuminating. You know, like I said, we read the book when Jim Crow met John Bull, and that has been in many ways the extent of my exposure to that and hearing the recollections of members of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense who were military members, most notably Geronimo Pratt, talk about how they utilized their what they learned and their experiences in Vietnam to come back and protect their home community. And eventually many of them made their way out to Oakland or LA and served in the Black Liberation Army, if you want to refer to it as that. And I yield.
Awesome, Doc. We're going to go ahead and move to closing comments. Almost caught a Charlie horse in my leg.
Oh man, you falling apart over there. That's when you know you need to hit the gym. I remember I caught a cramp while I was sleeping, and one of my homies, like, he said, "Man, if sleeping is the most strenuous thing that you do in your life, man, you need to get more active."
Oh, most definitely. So, Doc, your closing comments.
You know, my closing comments would be you know, I'm thankful to be here, because this is a night like every other night. We may have conflicts or whatever, but I always leave here with a sense of having learned something or heard something new, a new perspective, and why people think the way that they do. So just happy to be with the family, man. You know, actually, you know, people may not know this about me and you, Brother Maurice. You know, we're known to take a nap. So we're both over here having to set up our alarm clocks to wake us up to make it to this show. And many times when you see, you know, that we missed the show, one of us then fell in past nap time into a rapid eye movement sleep, where we over there snoring and dreaming. So I feel blessed to be able to make it. I'm getting old, y'all.
Definitely, Doc. It is a pleasure being with you and with the family. My thing I tell everybody, and I'll say it 1,000 times, the wars that are coming up, you don't have a fight in it. Make sure that you let them know you're not going over there to fight nobody. That ain't your fight. If you got to fight, your fight is right here in America. We got to make sure that is stated, because your lives matter, our lives matter, and we cannot, give our lives to any frivolous war that these people start throwing around. That's not our fight. And again, I want to thank Brother Gregory Calloway for coming on the program and saying his bit. It was good to hear his point of view of where he's from and how he sees it. Always, this program belongs to all of us. So if you want to call in or come on, we'll drop the link or put the phone number out there. Come on up and say what you got to say. We definitely love to hear it out. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
So you better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.